2019, bringing back a golden oldie. Kingzone back from Rift Rivals, celebrating with the other squads. KT Rolster struggling at the bottom. Traditionally, a lot of winners here, but KT Rolster, a lot to work on.
Here we go, game number 1. As I think it was Ellis and Atlas, they pointed out how the background there, where the LCK Summer 2019 thing actually corresponds with the time of day outside. So right now it's 5, or around 5. It's 5:10 right now. So it is actually still bright outside as early trading coming up here on the top side. Jace always going to have fun there.
I think the fans also kind of mirror the energy of us in that, like, we had such a big win just a few days ago, but suddenly, you know, regional play gets started straight away. The LCK, very quick turnaround. I think everyone is a bit kind of bemused that we're back already. And those are the sort of moments where a top team can be sniped by a team that wasn't at Rift Rivals, that didn't have to get into that international mindset. So KT will be hoping that this is the start of their season, right? They've had a very poor opening, 2-6 in their first 8. Trying to turn it around. We had runes on the stream. It is Unsealed Spellbook from Naehyun, trying to find cleanses and ghosts and other things. Oh my, is on. Cuzz bringing back the Jarvan. Does feel like neither Jarvan nor Ori was seeing really any priority 2 weeks ago in Korea. So what new stuff does Kingzone have to go along with the Kingzone flavor of this Taric support?
It's really interesting to see them go to Rift Rivals and play, you know, relatively standard drafts, and then come back in the first game against KT. They're just whipping out a golden oldie with this kind of combination. And even the Taric in the bottom side, as you were mentioning, up against the tank support. Look at the damage it can do just hanging out, but TusiN goes a little bit too far forward and takes a lot of damage.
Should also draw your attention to something you almost never see. If you pause this game and ask a longtime LCK viewer, what's amiss? You know, what's askew? Obviously, the Orianna and Jarvan will be a little bit surprising, but TusiN doesn't have Unsealed Spellbook. He has gone a tank support and actually taken Aftershock. It means those initial trades, like you see, of using the passive, getting those extra autos in, are strong. It means he doesn't have that double smite that Kingzone loves to use. It's actually going to have to be Naehyun who picks up the double smite later on in the game.
Yeah, someone else has to pick up the responsibility, but definitely there for a lot more than just the smites as the game does come along. No more Unsealed Spellbook on the Jarvan in the jungle. We saw that a little bit over at Rift Rivals, but just Conquer, actually, for the Jarvan.
Something that allows for those extended fights, and because you're a ball delivery system, realistically, you get in there, get in combat while the shockwave is going on, and then just try to do some relevant damage. I think it's fine. You don't want to take burst trades against the Lee Sin anyway. That's definitely a matchup where you can be bullied, so I do expect this to be kind of defensive jungle pathing, as we've seen so far from Cuzz. UmTi has a lot of options, but it was a very standard gank timing on the top side. The wave was already pushing out, so more of a counter gank timing coming through from the Lee Sin.
Yeah, just hanging out here, just farming a little bit in the early game. Feels nice to be back at LCK after the week. Do you have a, you know, we saw a lot in the opening show, some of the plays that the Korean casters did highlight, but did you have anything specifically outside of the obvious that you were really happy from this Rift Rivals for?
I think kind of my major takeaway from Rift Rivals was the fact that the Korean teams really prepped hard for their opponents and were willing to match early skirmishing. I saw a lot of Korean teams, and junglers especially, opening with flashes like cleared flash cooning, when in the LCK usually you just hold on to your summon to the last minute. So they were trying to skirmish, get advantages, and then return to that and relieve pressure by fighting rather than relieve pressure by just warding, you know. We're usually like lovers, not fighters in the LCK. Yeah. So it was cool to see the change because it showed that the LCK was willing to evolve. And you might say, well, they should have done that ages ago. All right, that happened. Hey, Naehyun.
I don't even understand.
You're dead,
like,
you're dead. Do you reckon he knows?
They both got so low in a trade, and then Naehyun's like, oh yeah, I can just stand here against Azir. I should be fine.
All right, that happened.
That was definitely a little bit of a mistake there, but we'll have to see how he even got to that place. But
that was a solo kill. Let's get the replay on this one. So Cuzz is there, which that part makes sense. How did this actually evolve to kill threat? Naehyun is tanking just every single one. It dies. All right, well that was bad.
Yeah.
Remember what we
straight up bad. Like, there's not really much else to say.
Remember what we said about coming back after an international event, feeling a high, and then coming back to the tournament that actually qualifies you for Worlds and still being on that high.
Oh.
Well, good thing he held on to his flash this time.
Gets away from that one as the level 6 was earlier for BDD after the extra XP he gets for being in the lane longer and not dying. So, good stuff either way. BDD able to trade his ult for the flash.
Definitely not the end of the laning phase dying, but we already talked about how Orianna is going to be on the struggling side early. You kind of need those 5 points in command attack in order to actually clear waves and harass the Azir. You get heavily outranged in the early laning phase. When Azir was released, he had longer range on his soldiers, and it was kind of Azir is the Orianna counter. Now it's more early game, does more damage, and still has good range. And then eventually Orianna gets into safer trade patterns. But that's usually one item plus. I feel like Orianna always wakes up when she gets 20% CDR plus and needs a large rod. And then she starts doing things. That's still a long way away, and the CS isn't helping as bot side.
Cuzz is actually going to get here first, but they see UmTi coming in and say, well, you can't exactly force this as the great trades in the mid lane continue for BDD. He's having a fun time.
And then if you look at it simply, well, Azir definitely winning in mid, has more items, got a solo kill. Smeb is gone for win lane, gone for the Executioner's Calling, wants to harass out, summon an Airy also to do physical damage to proc the Grievous Wounds for longer, so Vladimir going to have no priority in bot side. Frey and SnowFlower getting some stability here as well, so on a simple kind of explanation, it's 3 winning lanes, which is what we kind of worried from Champ Select. Kingzone have been bold, they have taken a lot of scaling. You can't take a lot of scaling and then mess up early trades. You get one, but no more for the side of Kingzone Dragon X.
Yeah, Naehyun, one of the stars from Rift Rivals. Maybe just still feeling the highs from that one. Wouldn't be surprised, but definitely that kill should have woken him up. And we'll see how he does do as the game comes along. We did mention how their comp in 5v5 team fights, if they can get the advantageous engages and make stuff happen, they should be winning, as long as they're not too far behind.
It's just one of those things where you think of the AoE and how little counterplay there is to, you know, Orianna, Jarvan, Vlad, just those 3 champions alone. You add in some invulnerability because TusiN theoretically will get to choose and pop it proactively. So the team fight phase in an even game feels very one-sided for Kingzone, but that's information KT should know. If they can get vision advantage, if it never becomes coming out of the darkness with your wombo engage, KT can just play side lanes with someone like Smeb being very powerful. They have good Baron damage. Xayah and the Azir do a lot of Baron damage. Jace will probably be on the split push. So it's about not allowing it to be an even game state 25 minutes in for KT, and also getting the maximum before the team fights slide into place.
Interesting that Cuzz, he spotted both of those wards there. Saw the one in the pixel brush and decided not to clear that one with the vision from the scrying plants, instead just going for the control ward.
You know what I would have really loved from Naehyun? It doesn't make as much sense in the wombo engage combo, but I really liked Nemesis picking the mid lane Veigar into the Azir. And the Veigar priority in an A, I think, is something that Korean teams should consider. We've actually lost our resident Veigar player. It was Pawn, who's no longer in the starting roster.
I liked Veigar. You remember when, well, might have to hold that thought here as the kick is going to come in, but Cuzz trying to cancel it. UmTi is going to be forced to flash away and blow a summoner there. Nice play by Cuzz on the read with the flag and drag. But no more action. But you remember when Unsealed Spellbook just came out and we saw a lot of Unsealed Spellbook Veigar?
I was a big fan. It was kind of a tankier build. We saw Abyssal Mask before the range was nerfed. This free damage onto SnowFlower. The NA version, after Nemesis kind of beat NA with it at Rift Rivals, was the Proto Belt start into kind of the more high AP, and that was kind of Proto Belt Abyssal Mask back in the day. In Korea, Naehyun just took clarity for a second there to keep in the lane and keep his mana up. Doesn't have a blue buff, so really struggling here is Naehyun, and have to remember that this is early priority Azir, and it's BDD who, when on form, his Azir is so scary.
And that really is the key, right? When on form. I feel like recently he hasn't been that super dominant BDD mid laner that we have seen in the past, but having a great start to this game, so we'll see if he can roll that into a carry performance. Not going to call anything too early, though, as KT trying to make some plays early and pick up Shelly here at about 11 minutes.
They've got the priority top side. Notice that Prey and SnowFlower got first back and are walking up first as well. So unless Deft teleport, it's not going to be in range. Kingzone have Wombo, but that Wombo isn't really online. Do they try to bite off more than they can chew?
See Naehyun on the Orianna quite slow, and the poke from the Azir is insane. They're still trying to force this though, flashing onto UmTi. They will pick up the one kill, and Deft playing bodyguard in the front lines. They will be able to at least get a kill on the backside, but Rift Herald goes to KT.
They have to use quite a lot to make this happen. Deft's teleport and Cuzz's flash to get a single kill after the objective is down. Naehyun was already teleporting back to mid lane, so I don't count that as a used summoner. It's quite a big investment. Now, Kingzone can parlay this into a lane situation or lane scenario here where Jace is going to be second on the lane assignment, so Vlad will get a bit more farm on the bot side. But it's not a massive win for Kingzone, and KT get the Rift Herald pre-12 minutes, so that should be a guaranteed charge. Looking over the replay here. Good command of the Rift Herald. You want to get and hold the backside or hold the eye till about 2,000, then auto attack and smite will burst it down. And you're within smite range. UmTi does that, commands the pit. His flash was already down, so it's the right target selection for Kingzone, but a heavy investment just to get the kill.
So UmTi trying to avoid vision in the mid lane with the minions that were under the turret, but 3 pings from the red team kind of tells us that Kingzone spotted him. So they should be expecting this Rift Herald very soon, before 14 minutes, somewhere in the top or mid lanes. Let's see where he does decide to go. Looks like he's edging towards mid here and get BDD even further ahead.
This is definitely where you want to put it to try to get the Orianna without a safe lane to rotate around. SnowFlower and Prey walking up. They don't know where Cuzz is.
Okay, trying to burst down Prey here. The Cataclysm is going to come in as long as that TP. The Taric ultimate trying to keep them all topped up here. You can see BDD just waiting for it, kiting them in the backside, but Rascal trying to make a play in the front line is going to be able to push them back. Kind of a wonky fight here as BDD just going to sail by the Orianna ultimate, and only TusiN is going to die on the backside.
BDD played that masterfully on enemy territory, but getting inconsistent damage the entire time. Like we mentioned, the Wombo isn't online, and Kingzone are just going too quickly here. They need to calm down. They need to find a way to just cement some vision and farm it out, because KT drafted priority, and then turn that priority into 4 plates in mid.
Just barely going to miss that 4th one, but either way, just kind of styling here as now Rascal in a bit of an awkward spot. Here comes UmTi to flash in, trying to get the kick, but now UmTi's in an awkward spot. And it looks like he's going to pay for that one a little bit too aggressive on the backside.
Definitely a whoopsies there from UmTi. Got the follow through the EQ and then thought that he could get out. Nope, the answer was no. Too far down into enemy territory. Kingzone push out the top side. It's 1,000 gold lead. That's not enough to fully flex onto Kingzone, but you watch this play and it's a lot of, well, I can hit the EQ on him kind of communication going on from Kingzone when they don't have all their affairs in order, they don't have their items, and remember this entire time, BDD is fighting on Kingzone's side of the ring.
TusiN's just running at BDD, desperately trying to exhaust him. He takes half his health bar in damage, and BDD just skates away. Makes it look so easy as we're going to see a bit of an oopsie here as well.
UmTi should have gone actually towards his ally. He went for the panic, 4W, I guess it would be, or, wherever you have your trinket into the safeguard and is Sadly, that was in the wrong direction towards the end. So he goes down top side, opening on Prey.
All right, the flash forward is going to be a little bit of an eyesore there, but they are at least able to get the ultimate out of Prey, so that is one thing. But meanwhile, with the Jarvan up in the top side, this Drake going to be taken down, and it is a mountain with Azir and Zaya and Jace on your team, so that's going to be a huge benefit actually. As how about a kill on the backside? Naehyun just alone here. The flash forward as BDD just going to shut him down as well. And a lot of wins on the board here for the side of KT.
Now, it does feel like if we got a previously on for KT Rolster, we'd see BDD watching Rift Rivals annoyed, angry that he's not representing Korea on the international stage because he is flexing on Naehyun and Kingzone. Rift Rivals hangovers are real. They happen in every region. And right now, it's kind of what we were suspicious of. It doesn't feel like Kingzone have indexed too much prep on this game. They've gone for a wombo comp that works eventually, but all these mistakes in the early game are being heavily punished, chiefly by BDD being a true emperor on the Azir.
You just can't do that. I mean, he saw BDD moving to the mid lane, and Naehyun's like, maybe I can get an auto onto him, and then he just gets dunked, and it does not look good. BDD's already fed. He was 2-0 before that kill. You don't know what's behind BDD. You can't beat BDD alone. You just can't stand there.
Does raise queries. We saw Naehyun win both sides of the Azir and Corki matchup. He is a noted Azir player himself. Is there further champions down? Naehyun's extended pool is not really known right now. People ban out Deft. People try to get Cuzz off his comfort. Speaking of Cuzz, they're trying to find ways to get some wins for the side of Kingzone. Down 2,000 gold. If it stays less than 5,000, the game goes past 25. No Baron is taken from KT. One team fight can salvage Kingzone, but we're pitching Kingzone as this top team, and we know KT all year has been a bot team. That's not what we're seeing in this particular match.
You can see what Kingzone are trying to do now. Just trying to bait a fight here with help from the side of Cuzz and TusiN, but see that KT was going to come up here in kind, 3-on-3. And the second that Kingzone see them all, they just say, we would not like to take a fight.
The moment you see BD, you say maybe side lanes, because he almost has 20% CDR massive items. Only thing that Naehyun has is CDR. Remember, there's no Seraphs online, it's just Archangels and a Blasting Wand. So the amount of power difference between Azir, who earlier spikes, and Naehyun, who doesn't have his spikes, is insane right now. It's literally night and day between the Azir and the Orianna, but Cuzz is still walking up.
Yeah, they see the Zaya in the mid lane and they say, hey, maybe we can force a 4-on-3, maybe Cuzz can bait them into it, but KT not biting the bait, playing it pretty well. They have this winning lane down here on the bottom side, which is kind of funny to say as Rascal is 2-0. We've seen a lot of scary Vladimirs thanks to Nuguri and his friends, but we'll have to wait and see if Rascal can do it this time with a nice couple of kills in his pocket.
I'm very interested to see where Smeb goes with his item build, because there's two schools of thought. You can try to build to dunk the 1v1, then the enemy team gets the team fight they want, and suddenly your 1v1 build doesn't work. Well, you can go lethality, top side, trying to get SnowFlower. He's going to flash away.
Just a bit of pick there on the side of Kingzone. You could see they were not committing to that, but they were still able to get the flash out of SnowFlower. Not 100% sure if that was necessary. Think he could have waited for the shockwave, but either way, is going to get out safely there. As another turret down on the bottom side, over to the side of Smeb. And here we go, Rascal with those 2 kills I mentioned. Trying to get on in there with the phase rush, but Smeb is going to bop him away.
We've seen Nuguri do it, but it's a tricky thing to do to force a kill 100-0 there. You can flash over the hammer hit and try to make it work, but if Smeb has flash up, it's unlikely you'll win that war of attrition. Smeb is actually going Hex Drinker, so he's not committing to, say, a Blade of Ruin King or a lethality item. He's straddling the line for now. There's a lot of AoE wombo, but this does suggest a teamfight build, because at the end of the day, yes, Hex Drinker is nice, but if you want to dunk harder in the 1v1, you might consider just lifesteal and grinning and bearing some of those magic damage trades.
Well, trying to come up here once again and just kind of babysit Naehyun until he's hit his 2 items and can actually do stuff in team fights. I think that's, you know, BDD, he could wait and try to make another solo kill happen, but the way that Kingzone is just trying to baby Naehyun through this mid game is going to make that much more difficult.
You worry when you look at, you know, UmTi's play and also the fact that he's 0-2-1. If you remember back to all those Rift Rivals victories, the reason why we had bloodshed is that the junglers were in on the joke. They were making the plays happen. BDD is interrupted.
Oh boy, big interruption. BDD just going to sweep them away, but the flash forward. Can he get out of this is the question. Still alive, but 700 gold is going to go over to Cuzz. As UmTi does get that assassination on the backside for Naehyun. As everybody's just going to join the party up in the top side. Turns out to be a 1-for-1 in the end.
And a 1-for-1 overall does suit the team that wants to chill out and extend the game. So Kingzone won't hate the fact that they got a Jace to teleport out of a winning 1-for-1. Winning lane matchup doesn't matter so much now that he's going to be isolated if he tries to split push. Rascal and Smeb down the bot side. Cuzz re-engages.
Yeah, you can see perhaps Rascal trying to call for it there as he had a pretty nice angle with his ultimate and flash, but KT are going to disengage and get out of there.
Kingzone want this to remain a farm fest. Just incidentally pile together the items. Seems like Banshee Veil going to be the next choice. Very defensive from Naehyun as his second item on the Ori. Probably needed given just how good BD has looked in the early game. BD is stacked, by the way. 2 20% CDR items and another blasting wand. He's turned on here, and even though they had control was top side, they didn't have complete vision, as that visual bug was not ideal.
Can we get a remake? That was definitely kind of interesting. As it was a nice play on the backside there by UmTi to just cancel out the kill and get that assassination onto Naehyun, who is now 0-3 and has teleport and cleanse, so that looks kind of funny.
But just to finish our point from before, Valdez, notice that these things are happening, and in general, more good things have happened for KT than Kingzone, but at Rift Rivals, when good things happen, they turned into more. There were TPs, there were jungle plays, and because right now UmTi seems to be on a different wavelength from his team, they're not getting any more. In fact, almost all the leads for KT were from mistakes from Kingzone rather than from good plays from the side of KT's jungler. So that unfortunately seems to mean, as a team, they're not getting more on the map, and it's something that KT has struggled with. Think back to the game where they had 3 Infernal Drake pipe, and they still didn't know how to find a way to actually get a meaningful lead in the game.
KT now coming on in here, just going to push down a tier 2, so nicely done there. As you can see, it was only Naehyun to defend it in the mid lane, so Kingzone not really having the tools available to them. Lots of pings on exactly where Kingzone are, but everybody is just going for a back. Kingzone actually have to be careful about this Baron, and actually Cuzz kind of in an awkward spot here, might just get kicked in, and there you go, trying to Cataclysm away here. Cuzz with no flash does get healed up, but it's not going to be enough, and immediately the pings go onto the Baron. Let's see if KT go for it.
TusiN ult there was completely wasted. No way Cuzz going to live another 2.5 seconds. They're on the Baron. No jungler. No Taric ult. What can Kingzone do?
Well, TusiN is going to flash on in. An insane amount of damage already onto Smeb. Plus the Hemo Plague means that KT do have to back off the Baron for now. I'm just going to pretend I didn't see that, Naehyun. Again, another whoopsie there. Not sure what's going on today with him.
All right, Naehyun's lost his Orianna privileges. No Orianna for you.
Yeah.
Kingzone's last couple of ults have been really, really substandard. Does play into the idea of that Rift Rivals hangover in many ways. KT just along for the ride, but profiting so far. Cuzz was looking for a flank angle, but actually, who was watching the Watchman? KT were coming from all angles to take down the Kingzone jungler.
It was a good read, too. You know, all the pings that said, hey, if one person didn't back, maybe we can just catch them trying to leave, and that they did. So, nice little read there from the side of KT.
But still KT do not have a meaningful lead in this game. 3 Drakes, 1 Mountain, not meaningful. 3,000 gold lead, nice, but not meaningful. It is 25 minutes into the game, and actually finishing off a major objective like the Baron is really important. Then suddenly Vlad and Oriana's wave clear doesn't matter that much. If they don't engage, they lose objectives. Kingzone just want to keep this one going, pile on those items alongside KT, and if it reads 50,000 gold for Kingzone, if it doesn't read 55 for KT, Kingzone Dragon X will still feel like there's multiple team fights they can win.
Absolutely. If it does get down to that 5v5, that was a really nice read there by Smeb, just saying, okay, I can't see all 5 of them. I don't want to get dove underneath this turret by the Vlad, who is actually pretty strong. And how about this? We're going to try to zone them away and go for the Baron, but immediately Vision is placed down by TusiN. KT are not going to take any chances.
At 20 minutes, you can try to find a creative Baron with, say, UmTi and BDD, one Mountain Drake. The Azir was so strong it's possible, but 25. You're not going to be sneaking away a Baron. All you can do is, you know, kind of fight the war of attrition, get down the wards, exhaust out the control wards and make it happen, but then you still have the ball to spot. You still have a lot of ways for a red side team to delay the Baron take, so it seems like KT are going to be frustrated playing for just Baron. I wouldn't mind sending a second member bot side with the Jace and trying to find a way to get advantages in a piggyback gang. They have 3 teleports around Baron, whether it's the ball to spot or the control wards or just all of the engage. It's very hard for KT to actually force Kingzone out of their red side jungle.
SnowFlower going for a walk here, might just die on the backside, not sure what that was. And yeah, I mean, they just get that free kill. SnowFlower thinking he would have some backup. Rascal comes in here and says, hey, maybe we can do the Baron. As you talked about that Baron turn, it is S++ from the side of Kingzone. Trying to get it done here, but the Cataclysm has already used BDD a nice amount of poke damage. And meanwhile, Jason, the bottom side, just trying to do it here, but Deft going for the one-on-one is going to pick up the kill. As now considering their options. Do they just go for the Baron or back? It looks like back is the option, as this inhibitor is going down.
BDD's too strong for them to start the Baron. He'll chunk them out, right? So you understand why they can't back. They should lose the inhibitor here, but actually, they're going to show respect. They don't know how many members are back and who hasn't. UmTi caught in the crossfire.
As, again, another member of KT looking to make a donation. Thankfully, he's going to flash over the wall. Still almost died to Baron, as the inhibitor does go down here.
This has been a very low quality game between KT and Kingzone, and the
straight up.
And the side for Kingzone obviously is the much more big thing to say for KT. Unfortunately, they have been in this sort of struggle. I don't know if we're going to get a replay of it, but SnowFlower legit away from his team walked up and into to die to start off that whole Baron play. It was just awful pathing from him. In the midst of all of this, Lee Sin will be able to pick up the fourth Drake of the game, I should say, for the side of KT. A bit awkwardly for them, they kind of would have wished that it was a 30-minute take and that Elder would spawn in 5 minutes because they're finding it hard to set up for Baron. But another Mountain Drake does mean that Elder's going to be much more 40 minutes than 35.
Elder will be delayed, but they'll be happy to roll that Mountain Drake. Definitely a lot of other things they could have rolled, but double Mountain with their calm just means that Baron is going to melt in 2 seconds. So see if they can pick that one up and maybe try to make some forced Baron plays and get Kingzone into a bad spot.
I do wonder, because, you know, LS always talks about things like, why would you take that Drake? Should have waited. If you ask me, hey, if you waited to 30 minutes, then took the Drake, would that be better for KT? The answer is definitely yes, because they can't contest red side jungle against a team fight comp. It's too hard. So you really want the Elder to force Kingzone out of hiding, make them play on a whole map rather than just the top side. But it's not a play that players regularly even entertain, right? That is like, well, we got something, so let's get more. And it does mean that at 39 minutes they have a stronger Drake, but I do wonder if there's any merit into investigating plays like that. It's not always relevant, but in a game like this where it's just so hard for KT to get Kingzone out of hiding, I do wonder. Right now, the lull state probably going to continue, and it just feels like we're waiting for the next mistake rather than the next super play.
I mean, there are a lot of champions in this lineup that can make super plays that we have seen before, but Still waiting on that one, as TPs are available for the top laners, and KingZone gonna say, let's bring them to us. And we can go for that kind of Baron turn, and here we go once again. Nice stun and root there by SnowFlower to just deny it. That Taric ultimate just gonna essentially go wide.
Not enough threat. They don't have the Vladimir in the backline. The Vladimir was in vision fighting Smeb, so very easy to just walk away from the shades. Cool guys don't look at explosion style, and now KT's on Baron. While they have Smeb with an advantage, KingZone have to make a quick decision.
They gotta go for it here, but you can see this. The hook is gonna come in, but Snow played for Cuzz. He's surviving the whole time. Big pick though by UmTi is gonna do an insane amount of damage and knockups there. He gets the jungler down, and they can immediately go back to Baron.
KT has to go straight onto the Baron. No smite contestants unless Naehyun wants to go behind enemy lines. His flash is up. Is he gonna go for the super play?
I think you gotta do it, right? But they know, KT knows they're trying to zone him out, and there's that Q down.
We need a clear call.
Waiting on the damage here. Vision is there as Naehyun not going to go for it. Not sure where TusiN's going. Is going to be forced to flash away. Okay, Rascal trying to get on in here. It's going to be rooted for quite a while, but that stopwatch is going to be huge for keeping SnowFlower alive, and he's going to go down. Deft and Naehyun sticking around, but here's big boy Smeb.
He's the Terminator.
Trying to get on top of them, but another nice stopwatch. He's going to keep the Kai'Sa alive for a little bit here, but now everybody's baited in, and that is a huge landslide victory for KT.
They're going to pick up the game win here. You'd have to think with the death timers as they are, what can Cuzz do against Prey? It wasn't a pretty one, but you'll take any victory as KT as the Rift Rivals hangover begins.
That it does. Not the cleanest game we've ever seen, but they are going to be able to finish this one off. KT with a big win here up against favorites KingZone in Game 1.
Difficult one to watch, but not necessarily surprising, given the timing, given how quickly it is.